So we are now live.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
So we should be live on LinkedIn, and I will.
YouTube.
Yeah, we are
Yeah. LinkedIn and YouTube.
LinkedIn, YouTube. Excellent.
Check us out. And obviously Riverside, if you're on this link.
Yeah. Well, we are very pleased to be back. It's good to have this new iteration of the two tired dads talk talent and tech. And
Yeah.
yes, I said it in one time. John, where are you at the moment? This is not your
I
usual setup.
No, it's not. I went for lunch with someone today in Paris because I love Paris. I went for lunch and then I stopped to have a coffee with my wife who works at Looney. So I am hiding in one of the rooms, using one of the meeting rooms to be able to do this today.
Excellent. Well, thank you, thank you to them and to her for hosting you today. So we're back and we have lots of things to share with you, people. First, thank you for your support over the last few months. We've been on a few different projects, and we received a lot of support from the recruitment and employer brand community. So we just want to acknowledge that and take a couple of minutes to tell you where we are at the moment. So we had this big survey on how people are using, how HR and talent leaders are using the data to make talent-related decisions. This survey allowed us to gather insights and answers from more than 200 talent leaders over Europe. We're thrilled. Thank you for that. And 2/3 of them are in France. Thank you. Thanks to everybody. And as we have a majority of people in France, we are organizing an event to discuss the results. We'll have testimonials, we'll have surprises, we'll have games, and we'll have also a few, some drinks and some food. So this event will be in 9 days now in Paris. And so this is invite only. And you know what, John? Something very funny happened this morning. We hit our max limit of guests.
We did.
And it blocked on Eventbrite, which is good, but we still have time to adapt. So I added a few more seats and a few more invitations. And so if you are listening to this and if you're in Paris on the 19th, we'd be happy to offer a couple of invites to people who are coming directly through our Tired Dads LinkedIn Live and show. So just reach out to us.
Exactly. I think there's a slight problem on LinkedIn. For some reason, I don't know why, but yeah, it's not completely. It was streaming and now it's not. But let's keep going because it's definitely out. I saw it live on LinkedIn a second ago, but now it's not popped up.
It says the event is going to start soon. Wait for the organizer to start.
Yeah, which we have done, but that's okay. Just going to check one other thing. Yeah, it's working on the. It is working somewhere, but I might just pop that
somewhere. Where is that?
I am going to post it just in here, saying, "Try this link." This link, if it's not showing for you. Anyway, there we go. If you click on that link, it should work. If you click here, we'll be able to go live. That is strange. Anyhow, let's crack on. What are we going to talk about today?
Today, we were going to talk about a very specific topic that sounded a bit controversial when we posted it. That was not the idea. We're going to talk about the state of flow and why we think recruiters need to be more challenged. This is actually very funny because John told me about that and I thought it was very interesting. And then it clicked back when we were preparing for this talk, because I have a couple of books that I read on this topic that are very interesting. So this is a topic that we really like, state of flow. So John, what is a state of flow?
That's a very good question. It was introduced by someone who I really cannot pronounce the name of. Do you want to take a try?
No, but I'm going to show you the book.
Yeah.
It's called The Flow. So you can see the name of the author right here.
Yeah,
We'll
I'm
call
really
you
sorry.
First name, Mihaly.
I mean, it's hard enough for me pronouncing French names. Yeah. Yeah, it's the state of flow.
Yes.
I think that the best way that you probably everyone's come across this, whether they've heard it as state of flow or not, but you'll typically hear it a lot in maybe sports or in high levels of music, or maybe when people are acting, that they're in the zone. You know, you must have heard that before. Like people are in the zone, and a really good example of this is you might have two tennis players who are both like top of their game. Like so, you might have had Nadal and Federer at one point playing in the final of an Open and of a Grand Slam, and they're both playing at their peak, right? They're both unbelievably good. And there is an actual graph. Have you got the access to the graph? Do you want to share it?
Yeah, I can share it.
Um,
Okay, just hold
and
on.
on the axis, it's got two different axes. One that's showing you the amount of challenge that you have doing a specific task, and the other one is the amount of skill you have in doing said task. And I will wait for Jean-Marie to share it up there, but
Here you go.
here we are. Here
This
we
one.
go. Yeah, so you can see that there. I hope that's large enough for everyone to be able to see. But basically, the if you've got a really high level of challenge and no skills, let's say for example you've been asked to hire for a really niche skill in tech that you've never heard of before, and you just don't know what on earth to do or how to approach it, the challenge could be extremely high, and you've got no skill set that's equipped you to be able to do that. That could really start to put
Yeah.
you into this worry and anxiety level, which can make people feel overwhelmed, defocused, and it cannot lead to a really good experience, right? Um, on the other hand, flow, as we're talking about when we have those two high performing areas, you might have a really high challenge, but you've got a really good skill set that meets that. So this is like the perfect scenario in which you could meet that particular problem. So yeah, so this is what we wanted to introduce, because we think sometimes we have some recruiters that have got the skills, but they're just doing the same old thing over and over again, and they're not challenged enough, they're not pushed enough, so they can start to be bored, they can start to be overconfident, and they just back off a little bit from what they can actually push themselves from and actually try and take themselves to the next level. Does that make sense? If I
Yes.
explain that well enough, would you want to
No, it does,
explain for
and
me?
you explained it very well. That's something I've heard a lot in my career, which is let's get out of our comfort zone. This idea that the zone where you are confident and in comfort is kind of like a bubble, and you should try to pierce that bubble and just like go outside it. And I always thought that it was a bit of an oversimplification, and this model is still simple but explains a lot about what this comfort zone is, which is actually when you are either highly skilled and you don't have enough challenge anymore. Well, then you feel like that you are in control, but it's not perfect. And if you have a very high challenge and you have some good skills, but it's not enough, then this is what we see here on arousal. Like you're on alert and you want to develop your skills. And
Yes,
so this comfort zone can go through these two channels, and ideally you should always try to stay in that flow moment where you're good, but at the same time you're happy. And from especially with recruiters, this is a job where you meet a lot of frustrations. I mean, for one person to you say yes to, there's 99 you say no to, or who say no to you. So there's a lot of frustration. From time to time we hear that recruitment is like a roller coaster. Well, a way to let's say slide over this roller coaster and everything that could happen is try to stay in that flow. And you could try to do that by yourself, but sometimes you need help. This is why
exactly.
this is something that is important to keep in mind for the recruitment managers, I think.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing. Sometimes people might look at this and think, oh, this is such consultant talk. This is such a like a big picture thing. But really it isn't. Like you got to think about it. When you're doing your job, how many times do you hear TAs and people are burnt out, and HR, they've got to do more stuff with less amount of more stuff with less people or less tools or less
Yeah.
budget. None of the tools are connected, so trying to get all the information is super difficult. Like you're constantly context switching. You've also got time pressures because you've got to hire. You then have the added complexity of dealing with humans. because humans don't always tend to do what you ask, which is like, would you like this job? Yes. Okay. Let's start tomorrow. That doesn't always happen as simply as this. And there's also the element of over complex processes, which can confuse people as well, which just starts to put the level of challenge up, right? And again, if you don't have that right skill set, it's difficult to keep going with that. So these are the things that can potentially influence this. And we don't just want to present you with problems, right? We'll start to think, we want to, acknowledge that this is a thing, and then start to think about how can we actually be doing better? Like, what could we be doing to be doing better with this type of stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because that makes me think when you say what can we make to do better. Well, before we dive again in recruitment, you made a parallel with sports, and myself, I'm thinking of something else. I thought of another book which is a psychology of video games, actually written by a French woman, I think, but it's in English. It's a short read, but I recommend it. It's good. It's talking about how you design a video game. So what's interesting, if everybody played a game at some time, even if you're not a hardcore gamer. And what's interesting is that you have to keep the people entertained, but keeping them challenged. Even if you want a good, relaxing game, you still need, if you want to have pleasure in the long term and stay engaged in the activity, you need to have a high level of challenge, high enough so you're focused on it, but not too high, because if it's too high, you will be frustrated compared to your ability to perform a task, which we could say is the same as a skill. And it's funny because the author from this guy, I'm sorry, if this guy sees a video at some point, thanks a lot for your work. We love your work. We just don't want to say your name in a wrong way. So if Mihaly sees that, sorry and thank you. So
Yeah.
what he says, he gives interesting numbers from his studies, like 91% of individuals who experience flow say that they feel highly engaged. It's directly linked. It's not just about feeling good. It's about liking what you do and wanting to do more.
Exactly.
So when you want to make sure that your recruiters are super engaged, you have to make sure that they are in that sweet spot that is the flow moment. And so it's actually very likely to increase the rate of job satisfaction, and so job retention and so on. And when we see how hard it is to keep good recruiters, and no matter what the market is in terms of state, good recruiters still are in high demand on the market.
Yeah.
Well, this I think this is something that is important too. And that's the part that's controversial, maybe, because I feel that these late few years, we've been hearing a lot about recruiter experience, which is good, but recruiter experience, providing the recruiters with a good experience themselves, is not the same as making their life too easy, because easy is not good. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. That's why maybe we can stop sharing the screen now, because our faces will be
Yes.
tiny. I totally agree. I totally agree with you. And I think it comes back to something. This is kind of related. Something you said to me maybe last week or before was about how that challenge between TAs and recruiters and within the team to be able to get better. And I mean, creating that kind of competition, but a healthy competition to continually try to improve. And I think that falls into this state of flow, because if you like superheroes, as you can tell by the side,
I
right?
love superheroes.
Batman can't exist without Joker, right? And they in a way, I feel like this is in recruitment. Pardon my segue into this, but I feel like that is it. Like, you can't, without the challenge, you can't improve. Like they can't exist without the other. Otherwise, you just fall off. Especially where more and more people who from HR are coming into recruitment, like into the TA level as an entry point, without coming from a recruiter background. I think we need to have that higher level of challenge to keep increasing. Sam, there's a guy called Sam Cox who used to work for me, and he always used to say, "What was it? A rising tide raises many ships." This is exactly the thing. You need it to bring everybody up. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I think that Sam might be watching this because I
Oh,
think
hi Sam, if you are
I saw
watching.
his name registering to the event. Yeah, that's very interesting. Well,
So my point is, what do you think about this? Because you raised this to me, and I wondered what you thought about in this kind of post
yeah,
post remote world.
you make a very interesting point, and it's not. I mean, complexity is not the same as difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
It's normal for some recruitment or some task in a job to be hard, because and they will always be hard depending on your level of skill. But again, difficulty shouldn't be the same as complexity.
No.
And that's funny. This is actually like 8 years ago. Wow, 8 years ago when I created Work Messenger, I chose a baseline. We make recruitment simple. We don't want to make recruitment easy. That's not the point. Easy is not interesting, but it should always be simple. Like even a hard recruitment can be simple. It's hard maybe to deal with, but it's simple to access. It's simple to do. On the other part, are not the most interesting task. But
Exactly.
they shouldn't be too complex, because complexity leads to frustration. So what does it mean in terms of recruitment? In terms that if, for example, you give an assignment to one of your recruiters, it should be hard for the right reasons. Like, okay, this is a field that you don't know well, so you're gonna need to level up your game. Maybe this
Or
will
partner
require.
with someone in the team, like for example, sorry to jump in there, just because you picked a point, is the social media, for example. Say, for example, you join a company and like, right, can you now take over our social media strategy for employer branding as a part of it? And you're like, hey, I don't really want to, but they've got no one else to do it, so you're now forced to do it, and you might procrastinate a lot to do that because you have no idea what you're doing, and for you the challenge is quite large, right? So you can keep putting it off. It can stress you out.
Exactly. But in your example, let's build on your example. Your example is a great example. Thank you for that. Let's imagine that someone would be in that situation. If they are given that task, they should be given the tools as well.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that we're going to make it easy for you, but at the same time, it means, okay, you're a recruiter, you've never worked on social media, and you need to set up employer brand. Well, I hope that you're going to have some budget, and I hope that you're going to be able to get some consulting maybe, because even if you will be the one to do it and drive this employer branding, you still need help. And by the way, lots of people think that when they get consulting on employer brands, they're gonna get someone doing the social media for them. No. It's just like paving the road. It's this helping in finding the direction to go to, but it will still be you. So you still need like time and resources to do that. So another way to say that would be, okay, you have a new task, because here we're not talking only about a harder task, but a new task that's hard for you. Do we give you the time to do it? And do we lower your other targets so you can implement this new project that we deem important to you? Because if it's just do it on your own time, we know that doesn't work. So when we say challenge your recruiters and make sure that they challenge, it's not make their life hard. It's make sure that they are stimulated. And so, for example, another example of complexity over difficulty will be if we give you a position because internally the stakeholders are hard to manage, very political environment, then it's not that it's hard, it's complex.
Yes.
But one might not take pleasure in doing that. Some might, but not the majority. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. And what other examples have we got of this, like being in a state of flow?
Well, I can give you a couple of numbers. If you
give us some numbers. You said you might add something about this.
Yeah, so some things, we forgot to say that, but we are data people, like we are recruiters, but we like working based on data. So we will always provide data when we talk about something. If we don't, just call us on it, because there's always, it will just mean that we have forgotten to share it. So another data that I thought was important is that in these studies, the data showed that when the task was too difficult or too easy, again, not too simple, but too easy, the productivity dropped by up to 50%.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that? Even with a task that is deemed too easy, it's like it's too easy, so I'm not engaged to do so. And if it's too hard, it's too complex, I don't want to do it because I don't know how to address it.
Exactly.
So this is very important. It's not just about, we were talking about engagement and pressure. It's not just about that. I mean, in the day to day, this has a huge impact. And if we're going to talk business, it's going to have an impact on the business. It's going to have an impact on the time to hire and the delivery. And of
Yeah.
course, all the quality metrics that could be derived from that, including your beloved quality of hire.
Da, 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 da.
That was so that was an insider joke. So if you want to know more, we've had a discussion about the quality of hire and why we think that it's not implemented correctly in companies at the moment. Even if it seems very simple,
Yeah.
it's not like that. But it's another topic. But you can
And
watch it
on your point of,
on our YouTube channel.
yeah, exactly. It's just you just type in so it's Two Tired Dads Talk Talent and Tech. So
Or
it's
you can type TTD.
TTTD. We'll put that in there.
Stay with us till the end of the chat, which is like around 3 p.m. Because we will have something for you.
Yeah. What else do we have? So I was going to say, so there's a guy I used to work with, Matt. He's a founder of a business that we were working together on, and he always used to liken the difference between complicated and complex. And he used to use this, right? He used to say a Formula One car is complicated, and a mouse, as in an animal, is complex, right?
Yeah.
And I'm probably bastardizing this, so I apologize, Matt, if you hear this. So a Formula One car is about like it's many different parts and there's lots of different components. You've got the engine, the tires, the brakes, the electrics, all of that different things. And each one of these does a specific function, right?
Yeah.
And all of the interactions between these are highly predictable. Okay. And then if something goes wrong, let's say, for example, there's a flat tire, that the people who are like engineering it can pinpoint that specific issue because the system has a very logical flow, the way things work, right? So it's mechanical rules. Okay. When you take a mouse as an example, you have all of these like really interconnected systems. You have the organs, the muscles, the nervous system, the instincts, and all of this are interacting in like highly unpredictable ways. And the way that the systems work, they cannot be understood if you look at each one of them in isolation because they're all interlinked, right? And if you look at a mouse, it's constantly adapting to the environment. It's learning new behaviors, and so it will respond unpredictably to stuff that's happening. Right, so it might find a new way to get to food, or a new way to get to shelter and obstacles, but you can't predict it's going to do this.
Well,
And basically,
I'll tell you that if a mouse has a flat tire, this will be very unpredictable. I
there
wouldn't
is
know how
also
to
that as
solve
well, right?
that.
But you see my point? The whole
Yeah,
point
I
is
see
that
your point.
it's like they're two very different things. So what I'd be careful of in recruitment is saying, yeah, we've got really complex this. We not really, not in the grand scheme of things. Most of the things that we're dealing with in recruitment are complicated. The complex part is the human to human interaction when it comes to the behaviors, right? The way you're talking to people, the unpredictability of what's happening and that type of stuff. So, we talk about control the controllable, right? Like that's what we need to do. We need to focus on those complicated things that are making sure they're all connected, like the tools and the systems and that type of stuff. And then there's the unpredictable part, which is the complex part, the humans.
It's funny. I will make a quick parenthesis to this discussion. I've read an extract from a job ad a couple of days ago that said that if the employer, I don't know who the employer was, the employer said in the job ad, if you are subject to be absent because of unavoidable events, please do not apply. And then someone answered, well, so you need to be able to avoid the unavoidable. And I love that.
Honestly, some of the stuff that goes out, you just can't believe it, can you?
Yeah, I think it's very unregulated, especially even in France, where we're supposed to have all this segment of laws. In the meantime, companies don't don't respect that don't seem to really help the market in the long term because it keeps happening. Well, anyways, that's another topic. We were talking about complexity. And thank you for your example about comparing a Formula One and basically a living organism. We were talking about complexity and bureaucratic tasks that were like complex but easy. I've read something interesting. You know that research shown that people involved in bureaucratic tasks are likely to be 2 to 3 times less engaged than people who are not asked to do this task.
Oh,
So,
really?
when I think about all these recruiters and recruitment managers who are asked every week to do a new table, a new data reporting, to gather the data for a new spreadsheet that most managers and directors might not read, not saying that not all of them do that. Honestly, I see every month recruitment managers and recruiters having to do data reports just for the sake of them being available and people not even opening the emails on the other end, which saddened me a bit. I really think that we should get some help in it in terms of how we manage the data, how we can help access the data, and it makes me think of the research that we've done as well. Because that's a lot. Most people told us about that.
That's
I can't wait
interesting.
to
I
share it.
can't wait to share this. We're not sharing this now. Keep that for the event.
Yeah. But I have to make the
I
parallel
know.
because it's the
I know.
same.
But it's the thing for me again. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's so important. Is that the the more you try and over engineer and create more of a complex recruitment process, the more difficult it becomes. And whether you like him or not, I'll put that disclaimer out there. Elon Musk always talks about this a lot, and he talks about simplifying everything. It's try and remove stuff. Try and remove everything that's it not, don't try and go too fast, too quick. Try and, even if it means you have to restart your whole process, delete stuff and then redo it is better than building on something that's bad. And I think that's really important. And I always go on about this all the time, but it's about taking that step back, that holistic view, sorry, and taking time to look at what you're doing, which is what I think if you look at what we may suggest for you here is take 20 minutes, find this, we'll send you this, right? We'll send you the link to the flow diagram. Think of a few things that you're working on at the moment and plot yourself on here where you think you are in relation to that task and on the graph. And if you feel like you're not in that optimal moment, right, where you're either like in arousal or in an actual state of flow, I would go and think about how can I move myself from here to here? Okay. How can I remove that stress? Is it because I'm missing a piece of information? Do I need help? Do I need a new tool? But do whatever it takes to try and help yourself progress, learn, and move forward. And I'm sure if you do this, it will be the best 20 minutes you take in the whole week because it will give you a clear overview about what you're trying to do. So try and move from that worry and anxiety and whatever's making you feel in any of these things that are not the positive ones. Try and do something to help you, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Be vulnerable. Be honest with yourself as well. And there's nothing worse than just lying to yourself because it doesn't help It doesn't help anyone.
No, it doesn't. Well, that's a very interesting topic. I'm going to keep the graph here because I'm going to have a question for you about that just after. If I may add some advices on working on this, the research shows that this state of flow is helped a lot by having clear goals.
Yeah.
So if as a recruitment manager, or if you can ask clear goals, give clear goals or ask for clear goals, helps a lot because then you know what's expected from you. It's easier for you to know what your level of challenge is and to know if you need to go further or if you need to progress in terms of skills. So this is something that showed to have a lot of impact. Of course, having a good balance between the change and the skills is important, but I think that's the trickiest part. Again, without help, it can be difficult on your own
Yeah.
to figure it.
Yeah.
So it's good like to talk to the community, see what's going on in other companies are similar to yours, and
Yeah.
maybe to ask help from mentors. I mean,
Yeah. Also, I just realised we had a question. Sorry, I'm flicking between the two. Melanie sent a question. Thank you for this. Melanie said, "Let me see if I can copy and paste this in here so we can see it." But she said, "But we can say it depends on personalities." She said, "I know personally, I hate to stay in my comfort zone, but I'm sure some of my colleagues prefer routine and simplicity." How would you answer that?
that's a good question. I don't know if at the moment if there are links between personality and the state of flow.
There's the question.
That's a
There we
very
go.
good
Yeah.
point. And so I suggest that I will dig into it and we will post the answer in the comments. And thank you, Melanie, for sharing that. I don't want to say something stupid again because we are all about the data and saying the right stuff. But I can talk about engagement and personality. That I can. And
For me, I would just say one thing though, that is how you start to fall into relaxation and boredom. Honestly, this is how it happens. If you're not
yeah,
like this is like I know we should do some more depth, but my immediate response would be that this is where that starts to happen because you've got that skill, you've got that challenge. You might have been at a company for 4 or 5 years. You're in a routine. It's easy, and then that's where you can start to maybe just become relaxed in your role, and it might not necessarily be pushing yourself to learn.
yeah.
But yeah, that's a good question. We should definitely look into that a little bit more.
So we know a few stuff from the personality models is that depending on your personality, you might be attracted to different kind of environment and task. For example, some people, depending on how on their level of extroversion, will be more attracted to working within groups of people, whereas other will take more pleasure into working on their own. I mean, in terms of generality, it's not like black and white. It's
No,
always
and
like
obviously the context matters a lot, and you're
yeah.
right. Like
But
different people are.
so depending on your personality, this is why lots of companies want to use personality tests. Some are good, some are not good at all.
Don't use Myers-Briggs.
Some are good depending on the context. So we are not endorsing anything right now, but that's why companies are trying to assess personality depending on the job. But we'll dig into that later. There's another thing that happens in flow, John. It's the deep concentration. The research shows that people who manage to reach that state of flow focus more easily on their task.
Mm.
But of course, has an impact on productivity as well. I think that this is important, and I think that that goes back to what we said about tasks that are too easy and that we don't want to get in, and so people tend to procrastinate, like you mentioned earlier. And the last thing, most of the time, flow happens when the tasks are intrinsically rewarding,
Yes.
which means like you are getting something out of it. It's not about just feeling good. You are getting something from doing what you're doing. It brings something to you. It can be very personal. We're talking about intrinsic motivation, so it's not like it brings you money. It's something very personal, but so the task is directly related to who you are, and that could relate maybe in terms of personality. Just to rebound on Melanie's question, but
Yeah.
I had a question for you, John. At the moment, where would you say that you are on that chart?
Depends on which skill. I mean, let's take organizing these things, right? These lives.
Yeah,
I am going to say I'm in the anxiety stress level because it doesn't always work, and I don't know why. I can see it works. I can see some people I can see I'm live here. I have some more work to do. I don't know. Maybe I'm more at the arousal. I'm alert and focused, right? I think I've been in that anxiety part at the very beginning to make sure it works, and now I'm starting to learn more about it. But I'm not quite 100% in the flow because I'm constantly checking to be sure it's working. I don't have 100% confidence that it's working, but I'm
yeah.
aware
I
enough
hope
of
that
this.
we
I
haven't
know
lost
this, right?
people, but yeah, yeah. By the way, if you found this talk interesting, please at the end you do not hesitate to share it because there will be a replay to share it to your colleagues who might be interested in the state of flow. All right,
Yeah.
and let's talk about in terms of recruitment. because you work some on some assignments from time to time. What do you need for to be in the state of flow when you're working on recruitment
I
assignments
need
and tasks?
I need the right tools. I need the right environment, and I need a really good relationship with the hiring manager
Okay,
for
all right.
me. And that that there is kind of like my base of what I need. And I like to have a job that is challenging enough. No, it can't just be an easy find. I find that for me, I find that I don't like that. I like to be pushed. This is why I like to do these searches every now and again, because it makes you think. You know, it's like I know I've got the experience to do it. I'm always constantly learning. I'm not the perfect recruiter by any sense of the imagination, um, but I've got a particularly, I've been doing it a while, so I would say I'm not too bad at it. So that's where the challenge comes in. It has to be quite a difficult role. That's why I like working on like really senior roles. Or a specific niche skill that you've got to try and find. I like that. You have to dig a little bit deeper. The conventional methods don't always work, right?
Yeah,
um, if I had 10 roles, I probably would have a different answer to this. If I had
yeah,
10 different jobs, and I'd probably change this, but in my context, that's how that's what I would say.
and this is one of the arguments in favor of the recruitment teams and recruitment managers who decide to kind of mix the jobs portfolio within a team. There are advantages, there are benefits, and malice to both approach. Whereas you mix the job portfolios, like you have a hard to find and easy to find jobs, like more senior, more junior. These are not the same, by the way. You can have a senior role that is easy and a junior role that is difficult sometimes. But and on the other way, you have an organization where you have people who are specialized, sometimes over specialized
Mm,
on a specific niche or segment. And so you got to ask yourself the question is, if you are over specialized, super specialized, how do you make sure that your recruiters are manage to get in that state of flow? And maybe you can keep them super specialized, but from time to time, then if you don't mix the portfolio, you can suggest that you switch portfolios to create a bit more of challenge.
mm,
Yes, you will lose a bit in terms of productivity at the moment, but like we said, if your recruiters are bored, you will lose productivity anyway.
exactly.
So it's better to plan for the mid to long term than just think about the short term productivity.
Exactly. No, I like that. The thing is with these kind of topics, it just opens up doors to a whole bunch of other stuff. And one of the things I'd love to talk to you about is not now, obviously, but remote working. How do we create a culture of excellence when we are remote working with new people coming through and learning, being challenged, and the power of moments, right? I love this book by Dan and Heachip. It's so good. And I think maybe we could dig into that a little bit. I'd
We
like to
still
do
have
this with you.
a few minutes. We still have a couple
No,
of
I think it's
minutes.
going to be too deep to go into now.
Okay,
I'll
so
go
let's
on it.
keep that for another time. You know
Yeah.
what? If you're okay, we can wrap on this.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
something for you, people. Don't quit just yet. So we have that event in Paris. So we're recording on September 10th. Right now, the event is in 9 days on the 19th. If you're interested in this event, write to us through LinkedIn or whatever channels you want, through our website, getpresage.com. So what's Presage? This will be something that we'll talk on another time, but you can, let me rewind that. We've planned a whole program of two tired dads talks. And now we come back with guests, and we have super, super interesting guests for the weeks and months to come. So if you want to get the program, we will put it out soon. Please register on our website, getpresage.com. You will see that the Two Tired Dads page and a quick form on it. Register on it, and you will make sure that you don't miss our next live. And last information, we'll have a European event as well, John.
Yep.
For
We
the
will.
people who don't speak French or who are not in Paris, we will talk about that later. If you want to get more information about it, same. Please register, and we'll make sure that we come back to you.
And
All
I've
right?
posted it, and we've posted in the LinkedIn channel where you can subscribe for the future events and stuff like that. And we do have two more two tired dads already booked in. So in 2 weeks' time, we have Naomi from Dr. Lib, who's going to be
Absolutely.
talking to us, coming live on the show in our new format, which I'm super excited for. We'll put both of the links in here. And we also have the other event. What is the topic going to be on the second one?
It's which one is it? It's with Eilish.
It's
It's
with Ailish. It's with Ailish from Flexer. That's it.
yeah. So the one what recruitment is missing in data compared
Yeah,
to product, because we'll be talking compared to sales and product, because we'll be talking about with an expert in product. And sales and product are two fields that are very focused on data. And John and I, we keep asking ourselves why finance, product, sales, and marketing are so good with data, and us, HR and talent acquisition, are not as good as them. But we'll discuss more about that in the next few days.
exactly. But that was fun. It's good to be
That
back.
was
And the next one, like honestly, within the next few episodes, we're trying to figure out the best way to do this. But it's going to be turning into more of a show with guests, maybe some commentators, and all this type of stuff. So, yeah, it should be good. And honestly, if you click on the link in the comments, if you want to follow these and keep up to date when we're doing them, because they're every other week, we'll start to share this with people, whoever subscribes. So yeah, thank you for everyone who has watched today
Yes,
or
thank you
in
to
the future.
everyone. And we will see you again in 2 weeks' time. And by then, good recruitment to everyone. Have a nice
Yeah,
week.
nice
See you,
one.
John. Bye bye.
See you. Bye bye.